Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I'm going to be ranking my top 10 favorite Pixar movies. Now the reason I'm not going to rank all 23, I think it is because that video would be way too long. I'm not even going to mention any of them outside of my top 10. I might make small comparisons, but other than that, I'm not going to mention those movies that aren't in my top 10. If you guys want, I can do a full live stream of me just talking about Pixar movies in general. And if you guys want me to do that, make sure to drop a like ring down below and subscribe if you're new. Also turn the notifications on so you get notified whenever I go live or when I upload a new video. Number 10 on my list is Finding Dory. In my opinion, it's honestly one of the best movie sequels of all time. I love the addition of all the new characters, and each of the characters brought their own to the story, but one thing they all brought that was in common was a lot of heart. Obviously, Dory is the highlight of the movie, but I feel like the heart and soul of each of the characters, and then all of them combined, really carries the movie and elevates it to another level. We also have to talk about the fact that Finding Dory came out 13 years after the original Finding Nemo. The fact that they were able to have such a good follow-up to a movie that was made almost a decade before the sequel is pretty impressive to me. The director did a great job of showing Dory's loss of family, and I felt like it was a great comparison to the original Finding Nemo movie. Both movies did a fantastic job talking about the loss of family members and kind of coping with it in general. So I like that Finding Dory kept the same basic principles as Finding Nemo, but they also introduced other characters and showed that they had that same heart and that same emotions that was going through them. And honestly, it seemed like Pixar kind of wanted an easy way out with the story, but at the end of the day, it was a great movie overall, and that's why it's at number 10. Number 9 on my list is actually one of the most recent Pixar movies, and that is Soul. Now, personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of Onward, but I feel like Disney really corrected their errors with Soul. If you guys didn't already know, Onward was the Pixar movie that came before Soul, and not a lot of people liked Onward, and neither did I. But I feel like Disney really corrected their zone and like the road that they were going on with Soul. I already did a full review about this movie, so you guys can either check out the card above me or it'll be in the link in the description down below. Soul was a goofy, weird, but also funny movie, and it also had like a really deep meaning, but they kind of made it tailored towards kids and adults. In this movie, Jamie Foxx's character, Joe, is sent to the great beyond. He meets 22 because he technically really doesn't want to die, and he has to get 22's like little Earth Pass thing, and once her Earth Pass is filled out, she can give it back to Joe, and Joe can go back to Earth and live his life. Throughout the course of this movie, Joe kind of learns like his life's purpose and like what he wanted to do, and that like life isn't all about those small stuff, it's the big stuff overall that matters. It's a pretty cheesy message, but I felt like it was one that could really connect with the older people who watch Soul and not necessarily the kids. It really made a lot of people contemplate their life and like what their purpose in life was. I mean, specifically, it didn't really relate to me in that fashion, but it was emotional and the story was great, and that's why it's at number 9. Number 8 on my list is Up. Now, you could be in two boats when you think of Up. You can think that I'm putting it too low at 8, or I'm even putting it too high at 8. But in my opinion, it could be a lot higher on the list. But anytime I think back to that movie, I don't think about the actual plot of the movie. I just think of the preamble and the actual like iconic parts. The iconic part is definitely just the house flying with the rainbow balloons over it. And the preamble is just a heart-wrenching story. The heart-wrenching story I'm talking about is obviously Carl and Ellie. I don't know if a lot of people cried, but I definitely cried during that preamble. But in retrospect, the movie is pretty basic. It's a cute kid with a cute dog. The central casting of the villain's story wasn't even that cool. I'm not saying the movie should have necessarily been as powerful as it was in that preamble with Carl and Ellie, because then we'd all be in shambles. But you also have to realize that the story is a lot thinner than we remembered. A lot of us only give it really high praise because of its preamble and those iconic moments. Number 7 on my list is Inside Out. In my opinion, this is one of the most clever and exciting Pixar films that I've seen in a very, very long time. It offers a lot of moments that are teachable not only to kids but also parents. And I felt like this is one thing that was super similar between Inside Out and Soul. Both of these movies were tailored towards kids, but they were really useful for parents too. And I feel like that's why parents don't just leave the theater when they're watching Pixar Kids with their movies, because something always intrigues both audiences. And also, Bing Bong broke my heart. I really recommend this movie, and I wish I could put it higher on my list, but these other movies are just too good. Number 6 on my list is Toy Story 3. Now, it's nearly impossible to rank all of the Toy Story films, but the reason why I'm putting Toy Story 3 this low on the list, it's because the plot of the movie doesn't really feel unique compared to the other movies. They basically take a Great Escape plot and tailor it to kind of fit the toys. I feel like this was a little more lazy on their part, and obviously it was a great way to introduce new characters into that whole franchise, because each character had certain skills that would help them out in their great escape. But overall, in my opinion, it was just a little bit more lazy on their part, and I feel like if they had put their minds to it, they could have come up with a really, really good story, or actually put their twist on A Great Escape. Number 5 on my list is The Incredibles. In my opinion, this is the best animated action movie of all time, and honestly, it's better than a lot of live action movies. I'm basically just throwing shade at Michael Bay here for overusing explosions. I feel like this movie was super good just because it basically invited us to like a whole new universe of heroes, and again, they each bring something really special to the table where everyone in the family can relate with, by having parents being able to empathize with characters in the movie as well. In this movie, the parents have a dissatisfaction of what their life has become, but everyone has to unite to basically stop an unstoppable force. It does all of this in under 2 hours without rushing anything. It also doesn't feel like anything's crammed into the movie, and it feels like everything is fleshed out and we know exactly what's going on. Number 4 on my list is Toy Story 2. Toy Story 2 was initially set up to become a disaster. It was initially only going to release on DVD, and according to many people at Pixar, the story was super unfinished. This movie expanded both Woody and Buzz Lightyear's universes without taking away from the main point of the movie, which is to have fun. This movie still kept good character development, as well as many laughs and sentimental moments. This movie also follows up on the dependent themes of a child growing up, and it kind of eyes the end of a saga. One of the scenes in the movie, called When She Loved Me, is a flashback sequence, and in my opinion, it's one of the most heart-wrenching sequences in any Pixar movie of all time. And there's not one thing wrong about this movie, and on the surface, it seems really perfect, and that's why it's on my number 4 spot. So now we're getting into the top 3, and to start off the top 3, my number 3 movie is Finding Nemo. The director Andrew Stanton wanted to make a movie about the ocean. He also wanted to portray his guilt of being an overprotective father to his son. He made this emotional, exciting, and visually gorgeous story about a nervous clownfish on the desperate search to find his lost son Nemo. This movie also introduced many lovable characters. The director's point of being an overprotective father are strengthened by the things that happen in this movie and the fears showed by Nemo. This is yet another example of Pixar appealing to both the older audience and the younger audience. Also, if you guys want an entire video of me just talking about Pixar movies and like why it's so perfect and why Pixar like never really misses with their movies, then just let me know by dropping a like rating down below and I'll make that a video. The movie is not only emotional and gut-wrenching, but it's also happy at times and actually makes you excited. My second favorite Pixar movie of all time has to be Toy Story. Obviously, I wasn't even born when this movie came out. I was born in 2004 and the movie came out in 1995. This movie was a comedy in the 1990s, and it still sticks up today. And on top of that, it's a kid's movie. This movie has ripping action sequences, well-earned emotional sequences, as well as to a lot of insights on human nature. In this movie, Woody is just basically expressing on his fear of being replaced by Buzz. And Woody also has to recognize that childhood doesn't last forever. And this is kind of the same reoccurring theme that happens between all 4 of the Toy Story movies. And yes, Tom Hanks has won 2 Oscars, but for me, what solidifies him is him playing Woody. And I feel like he'll go down as a legend for that by itself. Now, my number 1 favorite Pixar movie of all time is Wally. This by far has to be the most ambitious Pixar movie. The first half hour of this movie has basically no lines and shows the destruction of a planet. It goes over the de-evolution of the human race. Wally also realizes that humanity was much more than what it had become. Wally is an unprecedented achievement in Pixar's history, and if anyone wanted to think of Pixar, I think Wally's the first movie they should think of. It's an absolute pinnacle of what Pixar can do. In my opinion, Wally is the best love story that Pixar has ever told, and again, I don't think Pixar has done anything better than this movie. Let me know your guys' top 10 Pixar movies in the comments down below. Subscribe if you're new, turn those notifications on so you get notified whenever I go live or when a new video comes out. Thanks for watching, I'll see you next time, peace.